Well, our moms think we're funny. Hello and welcome to
No, stop. You've got to put more energy in that.
Sorry.
Hello and welcome to the Neil Lachlan Report. Today,
Hi everyone, I'm Acomi.
Hey everybody, this is Turk 182.
Wallcrawler 1.
Alright, welcome to Our Moms Think We're Funny. So,
Do they?
mine does sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
She gets offended by my jokes sometimes.
Mine too.
And then sometimes mine will laugh, and I'm like, you don't get it, do you? No. Never mind.
You're my boy.
Yeah, no, my mom usually, chides me because I say horrible things about people.
My mom thinks I'm cool. Nobody thinks you're cool, Millhouse.
But yeah, so Turk and I were talking a couple of weeks back, and I was like, okay, one thing we need to talk about for the show is your least favorite comic artist who isn't Rob Liefeld, and we decided
He's
that
not
would
that bad. He's gotten better. His storytelling's terrible though. But not like panel to panel, but like Major X.
He's pretty awful. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like if I had just said, worst comic artists, I knew that we would just spend a lot of time focused on Liefeld, and he's a really easy target. And we've bitched about him so much on the Korova Game Bar. We've bitched about him a lot on this podcast itself, I believe. But I was like, let's just all pick a couple of artists who we really just don't care for whatever reason, and we can talk about it. So
yeah, so I want to add a caveat to
I was going to say the same thing, because you don't want to just dismiss them, because it's hard to get in this industry. And so it's like, you don't want to just completely dismiss them, because they are not, it's hard.
Right.
It's a hard gig, and getting in is the hardest thing. And so respect.
And staying in.
It's just not your, it's not just dismissive. They're not have any talent at all. It's just not your particular taste.
Right. Some of them I'll say this person, it just doesn't have any talent, right?
yeah.
Because we've seen it. Like, you pick up an issue or something, and it's got to fill in, and it's like, oh, what the?
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. It's like, this guy, so I was about to say something really, really wrong. And I was like, it would have been funny, but it would have been wrong, so I'm not going to do that. But I was like, did this guy win a lottery or something? Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Sometimes, it's just like any business. Who you know doesn't hurt you. Yeah. It's like you're going to get an in, and there's guys that aren't ready, and it takes them years to get there. But I say getting in's the hardest part. I don't know if staying's that hard. You may not get constant gigs or high-end gigs, but getting in is the hardest thing. And so the fact that the guys I'm talking about have been in the business for decades.
Yeah.
So
I think for some of the artists, it's hard to get in. It's hard to stay in because you've seen a lot of artists. I think not too long ago, Acomi and I were talking, and we were like, you know who I like, but I haven't seen in a while? Ron Lim.
He's great.
And he's been doing more stuff within the past couple of years that I've seen. Doesn't mean he hasn't been working, but it's like, where's he been for 10, 15 years?
Isn't his son doing stuff?
You know where he's been for 10 to 15 years?
Where?
You're going to hate me because this is actually on my list for this episode. He's been doing Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog stories.
Huh.
And they're shit, okay?
Oh, wow.
Alright, I've got pictures.
But I saw he done some, what was it, Avengers or Spider-Man? Something recently. I saw a picture and I was like, that looks like classic Ron Lim.
I loved Ron Lim, man. I liked him from X-Mutants, Badger.
Oh, yeah, X-Mutants was great.
Yeah, dude.
And his surfer stuff with Starlin was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the thing.
Infinity Gauntlet.
You guys... Yeah, Infinity Gauntlet, definitely. You guys got to be introduced to Ron Lim through his Marvel work.
Sure.
So your first impression of Ron Lim is, wow, this guy's incredible. And when I saw Infinity Gauntlet, that made me a fan of Lim's superhero work.
Yeah.
But for me, I grew up reading the more cartoony stuff and reading the Sonic comics. So my first exposure to Lim was the Sonic art. I spent 10 years of my life thinking this guy sucks. and it pisses me off because it's like he let me have a bad impression of him because he was phoning it in on the Sonic books. And I understand it's a Sonic book. Right. So of course you're going to phone it in. Because it's it's Sonic. If you're not just having him running around with a big swinging cock on DeviantArt, then what's the point of even drawing him? I get that. It's not a great gig. The Archie books were never that good. I'm gonna review the entire series someday.
So I will say that from watching Comic Tropes channel, right? he did a review of I think issue 2 of the new Archie by Mark Waid when they restarted that.
Yeah,
I think with Fiona Staples.
I saw that. I didn't see that. I know about the revamp. I saw what they did with it. It looked interesting. I heard it was pretty good.
The story actually, the way he was writing it actually seemed interesting without deviating too much from the old thing. But I'm not an Archie fan.
Archie's not fucking Mr. Weatherby.
Actually,
deny.
This week, like it was Jughead, where he's the werewolf, and Vampirotica. They team up.
Oh, really?
They look kind of interesting. Like I never got into it in the Archie with the zombie stuff. I didn't read it.
Archie,
I
do too. Well, that's like Francesco Francavilla, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's incredible.
He's a really nice guy too.
But yeah, here's some of Lim's Sonic art. So it's bad.
What's with Sonic having that one like
that looks like a visor.
That gross fucking Cyclop eye, right? I mean, like
I agree. That's not a good Sonic.
He's just phoning it in. It doesn't look good as Sonic. It's not good comic art.
We're not talking like a cell phone either. We're talking like one of those old fashioned, like the kind your grandma had that like looked like it was from like the 50s and didn't work like shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Take a look at Dr. Quack here. That's his Disney duck here, basically.
Does Dr. Quack have a patch over his eye?
Yeah,
okay.
He stepped on a landmine and it blew his eye out because these comics are good.
So people aren't going to be able to see what we're talking about.
Yeah, like I said, one of these days I'm going to make an actual video of this rather than a podcast, and I'll load up this art.
Okay, I'm sorry. He stepped on a landmine and
it blew his eye out. Yeah.
What, did he step on it with his beak? I mean, how is it? We're talking about.
It looks like a pirate Howard the Duck. Like
yeah, right.
Yeah. He's got the big pancake bill.
It
looks like a platypus.
It's just horrible.
I can't believe that's Ron Lim.
Oh my God.
And that's the thing.
Tails looks high in that picture.
Doesn't he? Oh, that one. Sonic did. And that's the thing, because I remember it was a Heroes Con, and Turk and I were talking, and he made mention of Ron Lim, and I was like, dude, Ron Lim sucks. And he was like, what?
I know.
No,
you don't hear that every day. You don't.
He was like, Ron Lim doesn't suck. I was like, dude, yes, he does. I've been reading his work for years. I've been reading the Sonic comics since I was 10. And he was like, he does Sonic comics? I was like, yeah. Yeah, and they're atrocious. That was the thing. Like, I would get a Sonic book as a kid and be like, oh, gee, I hope it's like Steven Butler or Pat Spaziante or one of those good guys. And then you open, it's like, oh, it's Ron Lim.
Did you see his Badger stuff, man? The Badger stuff? That was some beautiful stuff.
I don't think I ever saw Badger, but like I said, like once I read Infinity Gauntlet, it was like, wow, I cannot believe this is the same guy.
I'll say this though. Talking about artists you don't like. You start off Infinity Gauntlet with George freaking Perez, right?
Yeah.
And then Ron Lim comes in. And it's not, don't get me wrong, it's Ron Lim. He's good. And I liked him because he did Infinity Quest, which is even better, in my opinion, than Infinity Gauntlet in some ways, because he knew the true power of the Gauntlet and stuff. I know you don't...
I do like Infinity Quest, because I love watching the machinations of Thanos as he goes around, and especially when he fits Champion, he gets the gem from him.
And I love Champion this day because of that story. Like, he's one of my favorite characters just because of that.
That in the Marvel 2-in-1 annual.
Yep, the very first appearance of him. And they introduced the Infinity Stones for the first time.
And then when Thanos fights the
CGC.
The Grandmaster or whatever it is, that chess match they have, that's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, so I love Infinity Gauntlet, but I think I'd be torn to say I like one versus the other, because Gauntlet is a bigger arcing story than Quest.
Well, you think about the way it ends too. It's like the one thing that he wanted, what he did it for, to gather that all together,
to get laid,
to get Death, to like him, and all that power in the universe. And if he can make her love him, but it's not a genuine love. So that's beautiful, man. So it's like that whole message. But basically, my whole point is at the end, Ron Lim. Taking over for George Perez. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, I like this guy. I know I like this guy. But we had George Perez.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's meant to draw all these people. It was set up for him. And by the end of it, I was okay. It's almost the equivalent of like Secret Wars. When you have a series like, when start off freaking Mike Zeck and another guy that I'm leading into, the reason I don't like this artist is because he was a fill-in guy and that's kind of my thing. It wasn't so much that I hate that guy. When you compare him to the other guy that you liked, it's almost like a movie. Like, imagine you're watching Star Wars, and you've got all the original actors, and then you change the cast, you change the director, it just doesn't feel. It takes you
jarring.
out of the story.
But I think what you're explaining is Solo, a Star Wars movie. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
we're right in the middle of filming everything. We're almost at the end and like, oh fuck all this. Now we're gonna replace everybody.
Exactly.
Surprise. But but no, I felt cheated when I saw Lim's good stuff. It was like my entire childhood. I could have actually been appreciating this guy's art. And instead, I spent my entire childhood dreading seeing it.
I think though you had a better introduction because if we had read the Sonic and we went from seeing the guy that did Silver Surfer to the Infinity Gauntlet to what was it next one, Infinity War, and then Infinity Crusade, and then when he did the was it the epic book, Monkey King? I mean, I love Ron Lim's stuff. I was like, oh, dude, it's Ron Lim. And then I went to Sonic. I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I think if I had to, luckily I just saw art, but I didn't actually read the books. But if I went that route, I'd been like, what the hell did you do? Becoming the opposite direction, right? Going from Sonic and then be like, oh, hey, this guy really is amazing. I see that as being like the better experience as opposed to watching him fade away.
And it shows you too, like how important it is to get the right artist on the right book. Because maybe he just wasn't meant to draw Sonic. You know what I'm saying? It's like he was meant to draw what he was meant to draw, and every artist has his weakness. I don't care if you're Alex Ross. There's some characters that he's drawn. Yeah, it's better than a lot of people, but he's not as good as maybe somebody else. So,
all right, well, I'm gonna let you finish. Right? But what you just said taps into something I wasn't really gonna bring up, but I am gonna talk about it in this context right here because you guys have heard me bitch about this person so many times before, which is Steve Dillon, right? And the thing is,
he can tell a story.
That's the thing. I don't dislike Steve Dillon. I don't hate his art, right?
Yeah.
And I have an old.
He's dead. Respect. God rest.
No, fuck all that. I don't.
Oh, dang.
No, and I'm not saying fuck Steve Dillon, right?
Where's his grave?
I hate that. I hate that shit about now that somebody's dead, right? We can't speak ill of him. If you're an asshole in life, right, you don't automatically get redeemed just because you die. Except for the fact that now I don't have to put up with your dumb ass no more.
Is Steve Dillon an asshole?
No, I'm just saying. That people do that shit all the time. Well, you can't speak ill of the dead. No, he was a fucking ass, and just because he's dead now doesn't make him a saint.
It's like Hitler's dead. We still speak ill of him.
Yeah, it's like you can pick and choose which dead people that you can demonize and which ones you have to praise.
Steve Dillon, my first exposure to him was that Punisher, and it was the Ennis that he started, the Max stuff, and I looked at that comic. I wasn't a really big fan of the art, and then he got to the end, and he had this. I got in a fight about it because everybody's like, "Yeah, you got to read this new Punisher." I was like, "No, I don't." I got to the end, and he's holding this guy over his head, and he looks 10 times bigger than the Punisher, and it just looked all goofy. I was like, that's terrible. You can't read a comic just because you don't like one panel. I was like, yes, I can. Yeah. I can do whatever I want to. I think it's garbage, and I never read that book from that time on. And he's not a bad artist, but I don't buy his stuff either. I didn't get into Preacher. I never got into any of that stuff.
The Preacher guy.
So here's the thing, right? And like I said, going back to what you had not just now, but before, had talked about, I don't dislike Steve Dillon.
Yeah.
Right? I don't dislike his art, and he is a storyteller, which is one of the things when growing up reading comic books, when I got older and more mature, I had to make that separation between a bad artist and a bad storyteller. Because you got some people
There's a difference.
You've got some people that are good artists, but they're bad storytellers, which in a way kind of makes them a bad artist. But you have people whose art style, they're not a bad artist. You may not like their art style, but they can tell a story.
Sure.
And really when it comes down to it, what do you want, good art or a good story? I want a good story.
And I'll say this about the guy that I'm going to pick. He's not a bad storyteller, and I'll give him that. But I don't want to read his stories because the art's bad. And his stories don't interest me either. If he's got an audience, right, and he's famous, but it's not. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at some Steve Dillon stuff now. It's not bad.
It's simple.
It's not it's not doing a lot to really speak to me either.
So I've got
it's talking heads.
Yeah, it just kind of is. It's really boring. There's no posing.
Well, hold on. I've got a book of that Steve Dillon had done artwork in. It's an old 2000 AD book, right? And when I looked through it, it's one of those books I ended up getting somehow, and I've always held on to. And I looked down, I was like, "Holy shit! This is Steve Dillon from the '80s, right?" And I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Okay, much different than it is now." And I was like, "Wow!" But my problem with it is, and what you were saying is that the right person on the right book. Never, don't really like. I don't dislike Steve Dillon, right? I think his storytelling is good. His art is decent, right? Book like Preacher, great. But when you put him on a book like The Punisher and The Thunderbolts, his art style does not fit that book.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And that's really what the problem I had. And it wasn't with him. It was with them putting him in that. And I was like, no, that doesn't work. And it didn't draw me in. Seeing Steve Dillon's art on like Deadpool, Punisher, and Red Hulk, it was like, those are not the kind of characters that he really brings to life like you would see. Like, if I'm going to read a Hulk book, right? I want someone that really like makes that character stand out, like a
Dale Keown,
right? McFarlane when he was doing the Hulk,
Herb Trimpe,
Liam Sharp when he did his run, even what's the guy that came after Keown?
He was. I didn't like that guy, and I'll tell you why. He's one of the guys I didn't like because he seemed like he was trying to. It was a poor man's Dale Keown. You know, it was more animated. It wasn't like it was realistic as Keown stuff.
We've had this conversation when we talked about the Jim Lee clones after Jim Lee left, and then you have these people people who afterwards it's like you see their work and it's like, oh, when you actually do your style is great, but when you're being forced to mock somebody else's style, no. But then of course you're not being genuine.
Was the guy Johnston? Is that wrong? Something like that?
No. It was a short actor. Go over there and pull out one of my Peter David masterworks.
But one of my favorite artists before Keown got on it, and everybody hated him. I mean, for the most part, they hated him. Jeff Purves, man.
I knew you were going to say
he's
Purves.
Awesome. He's one of my issue 350 is one of my favorite Hulk stories because like he's fighting against the Thing, and he also had him going up against the Zorba Man, and Peter David was the writer.
Yeah.
Still, so it was a great story, great run. Introduced Joe Fixit, first issue he ever did, and so it's like. That's a great run, and people hate his art, and I don't. I love it.
But again, it's like, but he was right. He was right in between, a McFarlane,
Keown. Byrne. Wouldn't he come right after Byrne too?
No, it was Byrne. I think then McFarlane.
No, Buscema did some stuff too, didn't he?
Because
remember he was fighting all the Avengers, and I think it was Sal. Sal maybe took over for a little bit, and then
Didn't Sam Keith do that one issue where he fought Mr. Hyde?
I love Sam Keith.
Yeah, he did. It was only one issue. Yeah, because he was doing the Marvel Comics Presents stuff.
But when you go from McFarlane to Jeff Purves or whatever, that's such a drastic change.
No, you're right.
I can't. I mean, as a reader, and like this guy, his work may be good, but it's like bam, I hit this wall, and I'm like, wait, this is it.
Yeah,
you'd have to come in there like with that being my first Hulk issue, or after a couple, issues in, go back and then kind of like, okay, now I can feel this guy.
Yeah,
because you can't go from McFarlane straight to him and be like, yep, I love this.
It's not really doing much for me, honestly.
But McFarlane, I gotta say, man, like,
you know the issue where Hulk fought Santa Claus?
I haven't.
That wasn't him though. that was a fill-in guy. Matt. I can't think of his name now. McFarlane. I was Tom McFarlane. He wasn't quite as good yet. He didn't have the right inker on his book when he was doing Hulk, especially those early issues. As he got on a little bit better, and started looking better when he left. But like at the beginning, it was rough.
It was rough. It was still like his Infinity Incorporated kind of stuff.
Yeah.
McFarlane is like, it's very context sensitive as to how good he is. I think, I think he does pretty well when he's inking his own work, but even then, it's like he's got to be drawing the right thing for it to really look good.
I mean, if you really look at Spider-Man, his villains are good, his Spider-Man's good, his people are atrocious, man.
Yeah.
He cannot draw. I'm sorry, his Mary Jane was not a good-looking Mary Jane. She was ugly.
Well, that's the way Spawn is.
Really? I thought she's kind of ugly.
I thought his humans looked really bad in Spawn, too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Spawn himself is cool, the monsters are cool, all the supernatural characters are pretty awesome. It's just... He seems to struggle with the mundanity.
He's respect to him because he's going to hit 300 with Spawn, and he's doing the homage. He's doing the 298, 299, and I don't know what he's going to do for the 300 because they've already done it before. But like the 298 and 299 are those covers with Chance.
Amazing Spider-Man,
but it's Spawn instead. It's kind of cool.
That's nice.
So didn't Mignola do the Hulk issues when he was in the Crossroads?
do not know
I
the answer to
remember.
that.
I don't know if I had those. I don't think I had the Mignola issues. I don't think I'd started reading it yet. Because I kind of came in on the John Byrne run. That's what, because I was really into John Byrne at the time.
So that's the thing. That's if I remember correctly, and it may have been somebody else that was doing it, but I'm thinking it was Mignola because it was that issue.
He did
of
some
Alpha,
covers.
It was that issue of Alpha Flight. I think it was like issue 30 when they're trying to find a new body for Roger Box. And they had that tether, and they're pulling something from there was a new body for somebody. Maybe it wasn't Box, but anyway, they're trying to find the new body, and they're like, well, we've got something. They pull it through, right, and it's the Hulk, and the Hulk comes through. And that final panel is the Hulk's arm smashing through the Box robot, like just right through the center of him. And that was John Byrne's last issue, and he went to Hulk, picking up from where he left off at Alpha Flight, going straight into Hulk, with Hulk being brought out of the Crossroads. And I thought
That's
it was
the same timeline?
I thought it was
I didn't know
Mignola that was doing Hulk, and at that time switched over to Alpha Flight.
Because he did
Right.
switch over for
So
a little bit.
it's like they like kind of like diverged and then like took each other's shit and went off.
Because he did the stuff where they introduced Lady Deathstrike, right?
Who?
Because Mignola, when he was over, because that's where she started, was Alpha Flight. That was her first appearance, was in Alpha Flight.
Lady Deathstrike?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was that Barry Windsor Smith.
No, she was. It was Alpha Flight, man.
Because when she showed up with it was the one with I'm thinking of the one with Power Pack and Wolverine when she's hunting him with Cole Macon and Reese after they've been turned into cyborgs.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No. Unless I'm wrong, I'm just gonna look it up.
Fantastic issue, by the way. And I think that's the one with the cover, the Sienkiewicz cover, where Wolverine's holding the youngest Power Pack up by her shirt, and he's got his claws like he's about to stab through her.
Alpha Flight 34, man.
Oh, okay. I had that issue.
Yeah. Remember those? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was where she first came in.
Okay.
Oh, I'm seeing a Jeff Purves drawing of Freddy Krueger, or I guess it's like a parody of Freddy Krueger. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's not the best drawing, I admit. But like, you know what it was? Like I said, Peter Dave was writer.
Yeah.
And so he was a good storyteller. And so, like, if you read the issues I was talking about, you may it's not so much the art, but like,
I'd probably
it was
enjoy
good.
him.
It was good.
Yeah, I'd probably enjoy
I've kind
him.
of taken
we're
but
talking
to get back. So, like I said, I think for the longest time I always was like, I hate Steve Dillon, but it wasn't that when I think actually about it, I didn't hate his artwork, and I think he was a great artist. Oh, I think he was a very good artist because he really could tell a story.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's one of those guys. He's
that.
like the opposite of a Pachalo who will cram so many panels onto a page. It's like each one's the size of a postage stamp, right?
We were steampunk. You couldn't even see what was going on, man. That thing was crazy.
We've talked about steampunk a lot. I actually kind of like it, but yeah, the art is very busy.
I don't think Dylan has ever, in any of the books I've ever read, has ever put more than 6 panels on a page. You know?
Yeah.
That was kind of the Marvel standard for back in the day.
But this isn't back in the day, so I mean, Dylan started working for Marvel maybe about 15, 20 years ago.
His Preacher stuff's not like that though. He did because he pushed him, like Ellis seemed like he pushed him a little bit more than that. He made him do a little, or Ennis, Ennis.
The two.
Yeah, that's right. Ellis is better.
Ellis is better.
I don't like it. I'm not an Ennis guy. I get him. I mispronounce him, but like I know that. Like I'm an Ellis guy. I'm not an Ennis. I'm not a big Ennis guy.
I'm not an Ennis guy at all. That's another podcast.
I'm not trying to cut you off, but Ron Lim, Steve Dillon, just keeping it all straight.
Yeah.
Ted McKeever.
But again,
this is not going to be my Ted McKeever.
I don't dislike him.
No.
But it was like my impression of him at first before I went back and looked at it and said, you know what? I don't have a problem with him. It was a matter of, to me, he wasn't on the right books for his art style and to make the characters that he was drawing really stand out.
Just
he was an action guy. He's not an action artist.
And to be honest with you, and I don't know if you think about this, do you agree with this? I know people don't think this way, but like not only do you associate him with certain books, you associate him with different companies. Now listen to this idea. Put Steve Dillon on Green Lantern. Can you see that?
No.
I could see it, man, because I could see him drawing Kilowog. I could see because he's almost got a Kevin McGuire thing going. I could see him drawing Hal Jordan.
McGuire.
I could see him drawing Guy Gardner. I could see him on a Green Lantern book, man. Just me though. Like if you don't like him, you don't like him.
No, it does not matter if I like him, but his style never shows me as being an action kind of like artist.
Yeah.
and for Green Lantern, I think Green Lantern books take a lot of imagination, and they are big because they're not a direct like fist fighting like Batman and Superman punching kind of thing, right? It's a lot more dynamic poses because everything's being done with the ring, right?
I can see him drawing Batman too. I think he's a DC guy.
I can see him doing Batman.
I can see him doing Batman. Yeah.
But I think with Green Lantern, the characters' poses are very, I think, need to be a little over exaggerated.
Yeah.
Because the action's not really coming from them, but it's coming from what they're producing. So you've got to overemphasize their, their movements so that they stand out to push that energy projection image along.
Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna start talking about Ted McKeever. Ted McKeever, like I've been showing him some artwork and stuff, and I don't think he's like the worst artist of all time because I've actually seen some pictures online where he's good. But the thing is, when his stories don't interest me, and his art, especially Metropole, and there was a Toxic Gumbo, there's just stuff about him that I'm not a big fan of. I don't think he's got a strong style. I think he can tell a story. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't have anything. I think he's capable of doing good stuff. It's just not. It's not what I'm going to read, and I'm not going to. So, and my thing is like if I don't like something, I don't really know a lot about it because I stay away from it. So I don't really have too many examples except for us. But Metropole, especially his covers, there's some, and like we were talking about, like I think you pointed out that like his backgrounds.
Yeah,
good.
He's got good backgrounds. I like his texturing.
Yeah, his texturing's good.
He can texture like there's no tomorrow. But...
Yeah, and I actually, and sometimes when I see it in black and white, it doesn't bother me as much as there's flat colors. Yeah. I don't know. It's like he's not bad. He's just not. I'm not gonna ever look at that book and say I'm gonna buy that. It's just not gonna ever happen for me. So it's like, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I don't think he's terrible. Like that Mondo, like that's got some elements that I could see. I guess that's an Image book that he did. I remember that came out. I didn't even realize it was him. But it's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's got some smooth like lines of action.
And what is that?
Mondo.
That's
it's
Mondo.
Like an
That's
Image
Ted
book.
McKeever.
Nah, that's not bad.
See, from a distance, it had kind of this Hulk feel.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what he was going for. Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
He looks like he looks like he was trying to be a bad Sam Keith,
Yeah. I think from a distance it looked a lot. I'm not saying nicer.
It does. Hold the phone farther back, even further.
Now drop it. Now leave it there.
But it was much more eye catching to me further back.
Yeah.
And up close though, it's not bad looking at all. And the graphics on the Mondo, the title are really nice, and it's just nothing bad with it. Just I think when I looked at that face without knowing anything more about the character, that face was just like, oh, why does he not look human? And I'm sure there's a reason, but it's like you got everything else is very human looking, just over exaggerated muscles. Then you get that weird like head that is like, Baby Ruth.
Yeah.
Are you guys?
It's like Goonies,
No, I think he hit the nail on the head when it's like he was trying to be bad Sam Keith. It's like he wanted to channel some Sam Keith and some Ron Lim, and it just winds up being a little too gritty feeling, I think.
I know he's got some hardcore fans, and if you like him, you like him. I'm not saying, but it's just I'm not ever gonna buy that. It's not ever gonna be
interested in reading his work.
Sure.
I can
look at that Batman.
About.
We were looking at a Batman, black and white, and the cape's all it's almost like Todd McFarlane meets Klaus Janson, but bad.
Yeah,
everything's gone wrong.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's just not my.
Well, Batman's face on that is really unappealing to me too. He's kind of like doing the handsome Squidward puckery lip thing.
I'm not feeling that. Doesn't even look like a cape. It looks like
my parents are dead.
It looks like if you look at it, if you hold away from the Batman, almost looks like a skull. Like a.
When I look at it, I see like Legion's hair.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
It's just I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably read his work just to give it a chance. But...
You're more of an indie guy too, so it's like I think he's appeals to he's definitely an indie guy. He is not a mainstream guy.
It's definitely more my aesthetic than you guys, but even still, I can see like this is just an ugly cover. It's an ugly character. It's an unappealing character, and I think you can draw a quote unquote ugly character and still make him appealing. And he failed miserably at that on this one.
It reminds me of some of those obscure, weird, epic '80s books that nobody wanted to read.
Yeah.
And it's like some of them were good, but like some of them were just straight up garbage. And like it just, and I think maybe he did do that. Maybe that's where my first exposure.
The anatomy on this is just shit. The arms are like way too short for the body.
It looks like she has junk.
She probably does.
It's not even in the trunk either.
That might just be his thing.
It's like under the hood.
Well, you got cut. Something's going on there
you know,
badly.
What this chick really needs is a penis.
I never want to see that again. Please take that off your phone.
I'm gonna make this my wallpaper. Oh, here's a picture of the person himself. Man, look at him. He's bald. He's got chin scruff. What a loser. I say that because he looks like me, but... Yeah.
Wow, but... Okay,
so my son just texted me, Dad, are you almost home? That makes me sad.
Oh, no. We might have to expedite this podcast.
You go next, man, because I've said mine. You said... We've all got one. Are we all getting two? Is that what we're doing?
I'm going to toss in as many licks as I can.
Yeah.
Haters! Hater!
I'm going to curse off this motherfucker. I'm not done with you by a long shot.
Yeah,
we get medieval on your ass.
I figured we could just, like, do a few. I mean, it's not like we're strictly rigid in the format, but if there's some point where you need to go, I mean, we're not going to, like, keep you locked down or anything.
You go next, man. Go ahead and do another two.
Bye.
Okay. All right, see y'all. Peace out, Wallcrawler 1. I'll see you sometime, or maybe not.
Well, so...
Okay, well, just let me go first then, and then I will go.
You already went? So you mean next? You mean go again?
Yeah. I want to double dip. Well, I want to get my licks in, too. I'll just get them in now, and then I'll let y'all finish. How about that?
So you're just going to double dip and just leave us with sloppy seconds?
Paul Neary. Like, he's a great... Okay, let me start this off. He is a fantastic inker. I mean, he's inked everybody. I mean, he's a great inker, and he's not a terrible artist. It's just not my style. And the reason I don't like him, another fill-in guy, like Captain America, Mike Zeck was on there. He inked him. It was beautiful stuff, and like he filled in some issues. And it's not so much that he's bad when you compare Mike Zeck with Paul Neary. If you compare Mike Zeck because I like him so much with pretty much anybody, it's gonna stand out. It's like so. It's not so much that he's a bad artist. He's a good storyteller, and he's competent, and he deserves to be in the industry. But his pencils, no, his faces are weird. His anatomy's a little wonky. It's almost like bad '70s art. I don't know what's to say. And maybe if he was '70s, I wouldn't dislike him so much. I don't know. It's just
what if he's in his '70s?
He's probably in his 70s now, but back then he's probably in his 50s or 40s. I mean, we're talking like 80s books, So it's like he's not a bad artist. He's just not my.
Yeah. See, like I look at this and I think non-dynamic.
Yeah.
That's really it. Is that like I like art that really delivers some kind of a punch to it, and it doesn't really feel like his does. It just is. That's what I've noticed with the guys you guys are bringing up, is because they're kind of mainstream to me, I just see them and it's like, this just is. It's just a page of comic art to me.
Well, to be honest, I haven't even brought up anybody yet.
Well, that's true, yeah.
What do you mean, Steve Dillon?
No, I was saying that
he wasn't on your list.
Right, how I used to not like him, but I wasn't viewing him the proper way.
Ah, okay.
And he actually is, like I said, a good artist and storyteller. But I was playing off of Crawler's thing. Was like he just, for a lot of his later stuff, I didn't feel he was on the right book.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Well, he did this. When you look him up, the first thing you see is some sort of jungle woman, and it looks like a big, fat, overweight, just gave birth Starfire, hadn't lost the baby weight. It's just bad, man. And it's like, I don't know. It's just, but like I said, ink all day. I mean, he can. I saw him do some Authority stuff there. I saw him do some Excalibur. He's good, man. Alan Davis.
His cityscapes are kind of hot.
Yeah.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying, Crawler, is Paul Neary, stay in your lane.
yeah. Don't go over here so much. Just go over here, and you'll be fine. Stick to the side roads and
For the love of God, get out of the passing lane.
Yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it, man.
No, that's fair. Those are good observations.
He's not a bad artist.
I can't say I really, outside of like the fill-ins that you talked about or whatever, I can't really say I've paid much attention to him as an artist. Mm-hmm. I've known him as an inker, and I've never
hate him
really,
as a person.
I've never really looked at his just straight on art stuff. So I don't really have an opinion about that. From the images you showed me, especially that Captain America cover with the Sin, it's not bad. Now I will say this: coming from where I am, right? I'm not an artist. You guys are artists. So where I sit and I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't think he's that bad. There's some people I think they're just atrocious, but I'm like, I don't think he's that bad. I mean, I wouldn't. It wouldn't tear me up to if I had to read a book of his, you know. Because I'll say this: one of my favorite artists is Will Spatacchio.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And back in when he was doing X-Men, right? There are a lot, and I would see him and I would be like, that's not a good panel. He had some really good panels, and sometimes some of his work will come across as flat. Like I remember, it's always stuck in my head. There's one issue of X-Men where Wolverine's head is kind of turned, and his head actually looks one-dimensional. Like the rest of the body stands out, but then the head just looks flat, and the way it's angled, it just looked wrong. And I'm like, but I still love Will Spatacchio. It was a couple panels I would see like that, but it never stopped me from liking his work. And I think Paul Neary would fall in that category as like, yeah, he doesn't strike me as like, he wouldn't be like one of my immediate gravitational like artists. Mm-hmm. But I could look at his work and be like, yeah, I'm cool with this.
It's funny, segue and unplanned, but like Will Spatacchio would have been my next one, and I'll tell you why. It's not his old stuff.
I thought you had to leave.
It's his new stuff, dude. Hey, you don't stay up with the new books anymore. You need to see his new stuff.
I'm sorry that I don't have a store in my neighborhood anymore.
You do. You just refuse to go to it.
Everybody refuses to go to it.
It's like
I'm not going to go to Dusty Knockers, whatever the hell that place is called.
Here, look at this. I just want to show you this cover. Now, if I told you that this was Will Spatacchio, would you believe me? That's not good, man. I'm sorry. There's something happened to him. That's not a good cover. His new cover for upcoming X-Men, no good. And like, there's a couple other ones I could show you too. His style's changed. Some of them are not terrible, but it's not the same guy. He was way more dynamic back in the day, and I agree with you. He wasn't ever the best storyteller either, but I didn't hate him. I don't hate him now, but that's not, you can't say that that's good.
I will say this, looking at this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I think part of this, I don't know who the inker is, but I don't think I've ever seen him on.
Is it Paul Neary?
No. But when I look at some of the background characters, what issue is this?
It's the one that's, let me see, it's coming out. It's going to be issue 21, so that's like 4 or 5 issues away. No, yeah, 5 issues away.
So there's Madrox in the background, right?
Yeah.
And I look at the way they're posed there. That to me looks like typical background Portaccio work, right? That's what I've seen from him.
But look at that Juggernaut, man.
Before.
That is not a good Juggernaut.
Something about that, it looks wrong.
Yeah, he hasn't even seen it yet.
It's an iffy Juggernaut for sure.
Come on, man. That's not good. Look at that Wolverine.
I wouldn't have thought that was Portaccio at all.
That's what I'm saying.
But I was going to say, look at that.
See, he was all like, oh, you need to leave. Oh, now.
I was going to say, look at Cyclops' hand, right?
Yeah,
that's a bad hand.
Come on.
But here's the thing.
Hey, I'll show you the other ones. I'm not done yet.
I've seen bad Portaccio before, and I've seen, and I'm making assumptions based on looking at the art, like the stuff that I really liked of his and stuff that I haven't liked of his as much, right?
It's not a bad picture, but even the angle of the look at that. That doesn't. No. What?
I think
that's
that
not,
like
it's.
I think that Rob Liefeld licked his hand and he caught the stupid.
We're looking.
Wow!
You said this is a non-Liefeld bashing zone. We started off saying no Liefeld. It's too easy. Don't.
And
number 19.
That was not even
terrible.
for me. Okay, what I was gonna say is this is again, this is just me making an assumption about Portaccio. Is I've seen stuff where it looks like he had time to really work on it.
Yeah.
Stuff where it really looked like he did, like rushed and phoned it in.
I was going to say that.
And when he was doing Wetworks and Wetworks was falling behind, I remember there was one issue, it was a double-page spread, had 3 panels on it, and they weren't even full panels. They were these like horizontal like boxes that started from the upper left corner and then kind of got smaller, 4 of them that got smaller towards the lower right corner, and the rest of it was blank. And I was like, well, and sometimes you do some of that kind of thing for storytelling purposes.
Yeah.
This does not strike me as storytelling purposes. It was like, so I've seen what I think is like a rush Portaccio, and I've seen what I think is like good. That to me looks like a rush piece of his.
It does.
And I'm not saying that this isn't how he does things now. Looking at that piece, that's the immediate images that reminds me of some of the stuff I've seen him before that I would have considered a rush piece of his.
And the problem is, though, what I'd say is I've seen him on YouTube sketch out a Wolverine head, and it came out amazing.
That shit was nice.
And
he did it in like 8 minutes.
And that's what I'm saying.
Tight.
So how can you do that? And then this cover be so...
The one I saw was Bishop. He did a Bishop, and it was like it was amazing.
And he's a good artist. Don't even. I like his stuff. It's just even you admit, like I'm not wrong.
Those were some rough pieces. So, have you guys watched any of Jim Lee's live streams?
Yes.
He does some like really non-conventional stuff, and it's beautiful.
I saw him do the Harley Quinn and a Batman together, and it was just like wow.
I sent Turk the one that he did of Goku. And just to piss him off because he doesn't like Dragon Ball Z. I was like, check this one out, man. Jim Lee doing Goku.
I didn't watch that, by the way. I'm just straight up honest. If I told
fair.
you I did, I lied.
No, I think you were just like, just because Jim Lee does it doesn't mean it's automatically good or something like that.
Right.
So, all right. So, Turk, who do you hate?
Well, no, I'm sorry.
Everybody.
I kind of stepped all over Crawler's toes there. So I'm gonna let him finish.
No, I'm done, man. Like you admitted you were wrong. It's fine.
That's all we ever want out of you.
Ted McKeever doesn't care about good comic art.
I mean, you could have heard those phone conversations back in the day. That hey Stanley, it's me, Wills. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to turn that book in. Rob licked my hand again. Yeah, no, my drawings are turning out like shit, man. These feet just keep tapering off to nothing.
Listen up, true believers.
Okay, you guys don't read the new stuff, but Major X just came out, and like the story just got awful. His art's what's weird is
who's writing a story?
Rob Liefeld. And like supposedly some other guy's helping him, but it's Rob Liefeld. And like
he's like a ghost writer.
He's like his art's better, but it's flat, man. There was an energy. So no matter what you say about Rob Liefeld, his characters had an energy to them at least that were compelling back in the day. But now his stuff,
I love
is
Die Hard
so
and Vogue
flat.
and Bad Rock, Yabba Dabba Doom.
I was talking about more like his New Mutants stuff. You know,
Blood Wolf.
Yeah, you liked his New Mutants, those early New Mutants. You admit that.
I liked his New Mutant stuff. So okay.
He couldn't even say it. Like
no. Okay, I was gonna say, I read New Mutants for a long time, and then New Mutants hit this part where started off reading New Mutants during the McLeod, right, run, and then I think someone else took over, and then we went into the Sienkiewicz, which at the time I was just like, what the fuck is this? It was so dark and so different. I could not get into it.
I couldn't either.
But I love Sienkiewicz now that I've grown to appreciate it, and I've grown as an art connoisseur, right? Man, my pinky up in the air. Was to say that.
He hasn't gotten worse. He's gotten better.
Oh yeah.
I love Sienkiewicz. She's amazing.
And then after Sienkiewicz, he has a bunch of stuff. But then Brett Blevins came in, and I've never been a Blevins fan. And
he's good though. I like him. I like his stuff.
See, I'm not gonna put him down.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the only thing I remember ever seeing of his was his New Mutant stuff, and I didn't care for it at all.
Is this your next guy?
No, I'm not gonna attack him at all because I never cared for it, but I never took the time to go back and relook at his stuff and see if there was any kind of appreciation for it. I just remember the New Mutants I didn't like. Then came in Liefeld, right?
Not gonna lie, I kind of like Brett Blevins'
work. It was different from Blevins, who I didn't care for, and I liked it. Plus, and I'll say this for Liefeld, when he first came out, being a person that had liked comic books for so long, and then there he is on TV doing his like Levi's commercial with Spike Lee, right?
Yeah, he's a superstar, man.
Right, and he was bringing like this mainstream like interest to comic books. I loved it.
Sure.
And of course we're hitting the 90s there, and I was like, I love Rob Liefeld, and then we went into X-Force, and I was done.
Nice. Wow.
Sienkiewicz cover.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's a 1/50 variant from Marvel Comics Presents because they relaunched it. It's terrible.
I love Marvel Comics Presents.
Nobody's buying 1/50 variants of that thing. That thing has blown up. I could have bought it for $43. That thing's going for $500 to $600, man.
Sienkiewicz.
That came out this week.
Sienkiewicz is a really cool guy. He's really nice too.
I've never met him.
He's pretty chill.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Did you know that his Electra work? You know who that is? You know who that model is? Amanda Connor.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I think you told me that.
Understudy, and she got her start with him.
That's awesome.
So when I met Sienkiewicz, and I've told you guys, but I've never talked about it on the channel. When I met Sienkiewicz at Heroes Con, and I told him I was like, I owe you an apology. When you came on to New Mutants, I was like, I stopped reading the book. I was like, I did not like your work because it was so dark and that kind of stuff. I was like, but then when I had it, once I had to learn to start appreciate artists, because at the time I'm all about like John Byrne, George Perez, and those kind of people, and that was my idea of a good artist. And you had some other people in there too, but like when I thought about art, it was like, bam, those are the ones. And he just wasn't hitting it for me. But then when I actually was like, okay, let me go back and really look at this guy, and I could see like his talent is phenomenal. So I told him, I was like, yeah, it wasn't, as at the time I hated it, but then when I grew as to understand art and as a person and matured, and I was like, your work is amazing. And Heroes, they've got that picture, that banner.
Oh yeah,
for that one with
the New Mutants.
Yeah,
with magic or something.
Yeah. So it's this. I think it's an original art piece. Maybe not for Heroes, but I don't think it was ever on a cover or anything.
Maybe it's just a promo piece.
Yeah. So for people that have never seen it, and I pointed out to you guys at Heroes because we've been at Heroes for a couple years, and it's this big banner. It's an all white cover. It's Daniel Moonstar in the snow, and I think she's got her. Her name is Magic was Ilyana. She was was her not Karma? What was her name?
Danny Moonstar.
Yeah.
Is it Mirage?
Yeah, Mirage.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and I think she's got her bow with her, doesn't she? Mm-hmm. And she's kind of
she's got Valkyrie powers.
Yeah, she does now.
Yeah.
After the New Mutants X-Men annual crossover with Storm, the Thor. But anyway, so she's kind of like stalking through the snow, and there's a tree like behind her on an angle, and it's just her. It's really pretty, and we were sitting there, we were talking. It was after hours, so the con had closed up, and we were putting our tables away and stuff like that, and we're all talking. And I'm just looking up at this thing, and then I see, and I was like, holy shit! And the branches of the tree make the shape of the demon bear.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
And I had seen that thing so many times and never saw the demon bear. And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden it was just like, bam, there it was. And I was like, that is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
So I was telling Sienkiewicz's story, and he's like, dude, I had the exact same perception with a book that I was reading as a kid, and it was like, and this artist came along, and I didn't like it, and I hated it. But then, like years later, I really grew to appreciate them, and they're one of my favorite artists now.
Hold on,
and
it's
like,
can I guess?
That made me feel so much better.
Can I guess? Is it Neil Adams?
I don't remember who he said it was.
Because the thing is, if you look at his early work, that's exactly who he's trying to be, man.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at his Moon Knight stuff, man. Okay. He was trying to be Neil Adams 100%. He even admits it.
Was trying to be Neil Adams back then.
Well, Moon Knight was better than Batman.
Oh yeah, and it still could be. Like I think if they made a movie,
remember those covers and everything for the thing where it was like there was like a cover or something. There was like Moon Knight, and it was like better than Batman or whatever. And then like a magazine put out a cover later on with like Batman. It was I'd have to look it up because it was something I watched on TV and they were showing. I was like, that's funny.
I don't remember those, but I tell you, we've talked about it before. My favorite ads of all time in the books were Bill Sienkiewicz ones. You know which one I'm talking about?
Which one?
The Power Man and Iron Fist.
Oh,
he's like, you're not buying if you don't buy this book, And he's like, dude, those ads, they're beautiful.
Nice. He was incredible.
But yeah, so anyway.
But Turk, who do you hate?
Right. We love more than we hate around here.
Yeah. I'm all about the love, baby. Okay, so who do I hate? Money. Who do I hate? Okay. All right, so I told you that when I go to tell my story, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a special story.
It's not the personal one, is it? It's not personal reasons, is it? Okay.
No, that's the Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like. Okay.
Fuck Barry Windsor Smith.
Fuck Barry Windsor Smith.
Fuck Barry He has fucking clown shoes. Okay, so see now I got to tell the story, right? Okay, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, I'm a kid, and and I'm reading books and everything. I've read the issues that Barry Windsor Smith did of X-Men. Liked his work. He did that Moon Knight. Not Moon Knight. That Machine Man, like 4-issue series, and I'd never read any Conan or whatever. Plus, his style in Conan was a lot different than his later style, right?
Yeah, I actually like his style in Conan a lot.
So, and then he did the Weapon X run storyline on Marvel Comics Presents. So, I go to a Heroes Con, and I'm with a friend, right? And we're in the elevator with this guy, and this guy's in this kind of it's just the three of us. This guy's in this kind of like purple silk suit, right? And it's just three of us, and we had just checked into the hotel, and we're in the elevator with this guy, and we've got our Heroes Con bags, and they've got a picture of like Wolverine on it, like Barry Windsor Smith, Weapon X Wolverine. We're talking about, it's like we're excited, awesome. It's like our first big con, and he's like, one of the people I want to meet is Barry Windsor Smith, right? And so we're talking, the door's open. I don't remember which one of us gets out first, but that's it. So I don't even think it was that day. I think it was the next day. We're there, and we're at the con and I'm standing in line to meet Barry Windsor Smith, and I've got my, was it X-Men like 217, whatever it is? It's the one with Wolverine and I think it's the first Lady Deathstrike in X-Men or whatever. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and I get up to the table, and it's the guy from the elevator in the purple suit, and I'm like. Because he's still wearing the same purple suit, right? And I'm like...
He's like, I'll never take this off.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wow, you were in the elevator. And my mind's not like working right away to be like, hey, you could have said hi or something, right? But whatever, right? So he signed the book, and I was like, hey, I noticed that in a lot of your stories, right? There's always some kind of weather event going on. It's raining or snowing. And if you guys go back and look at his stuff, right, there's always a heavy, I mentioned that Barry Windsor Smith with the Power Pack girl with, them and everything. Yeah. It's snowing all in the back of that. And it's snowing all in Weapon X.
And that Wolverine Sabretooth issue, where they were fighting each other.
Yeah, it's always rain or snow. Even like the life death issues he did with Storm and Forge and all kind of stuff. Always some kind of major weather. So I was like, I know it's always kind of raining or snowing or whatever in the background, and it's like why? It's like, is there a reason for that? Because I'm expecting him to say something like, I really don't like drawing backgrounds that much or whatever, or like it adds a different layer to it, to that having that that weather element or whatever. And he signs the book and he goes, because it rains and it snows.
Dang.
Such a prick.
And I got my book and I walked away and I was like, I will never buy another book of his ever again. And
I don't hear that.
I mean, that's a really shitty response.
You never meet your heroes. It's true.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to interrupt your story, but like Sienkiewicz, I know a dude that I went to school with, and the Daredevil graphic novel? Yeah. That's like his Bible, man. That's his like Sienkiewicz is his God, It's like he says that issue influenced him more than anything ever. And it's beautiful, man. It is. It's beautiful stuff. And he showed him his work. And the guy is a European style. And I don't want to say any names, but it crushed him, man. He destroyed him.
Really?
He went nice. And it's I think he could maybe be nice to fans, but it's true. Artists, they will take people underneath their wing, and sometimes they'll bring them into the fold. But sometimes they just eat their young. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not going to be they're not going to. You're taking in more competition, and I don't know if it's because he was fearful of him, because the guy was good, but maybe I don't know if you. I don't know. Sienkiewicz wasn't fair.
Sometimes people just connect wrong. Too.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I'll say this: just because you like them.
Doesn't mean they like you.
It doesn't have to be that way. I actually met an artist recently that I've liked for a long time, and it tainted my viewpoint of him. Not like I'm the biggest fan in the world of him, but it's like, and it could just be, wasn't a bad day, tired. You just don't know.
Like their lunch could just not be agreeing with them. I mean, it's.
But your story, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. I don't blame you at all.
I think if I was an artist and someone came up to me and they're like, "Hey, would you mind looking at my work?" One, I think a lot of people, they don't really want a real critique. They want you to say, "Yeah, you look good," so they can go, "Hey, so and so said, my work is great," and not to be able to say, "Hey, look." And I think it's hard also for an artist to be able to be like, "Yeah, you need to tighten this up here," but like, "Motherfucker, you don't do that." Like if I took some art to Rob Liefeld and he'd be like, "You need to work on your feet and where the fist connects to like to like the arm that wrist," and I'd be like, it was like, who are you to tell me? But the thing is, I'm in a position you're not, and the thing is, whether I do it or not, I want you. You're asking me how you can improve.
Right.
This is how you're going to improve.
It's like I don't want you to fall into the same habits I do either.
Right, and especially if you're trying to make it into the industry, I know what they're going to look for. They're going to say, no, this isn't good enough. So if you want to get in, you're going to have to fix this, whether I do it or not. I'm already in, right? You want to get in, you need to fix this stuff, otherwise they're going to count you out. That's one. And two, like you were saying, if our style is very similar, right?
Yeah.
You're competition for me. You're young, right? You can probably work a lot longer because my wrist is probably starting to really kill me right now. Yep. And not only that, you're going to be a lot cheaper than I am.
Yep.
And for me to bring you in, that's like cutting my own throat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now if your style is different from mine, I'll take you under my wing, sure. Because more than likely, you're not going to be put on the same books that I am.
Yeah.
So I'll be more than happy to make you competition for somebody else. But
not for me.
Right.
Right, yeah. Totally.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it's like you got to look out for yourself at the end of the day. I mean, nobody else is going to. But it's like, you don't want to destroy people either. It's like, I would think that you'd have, especially if somebody that appreciates your work, that's your. And it doesn't seem like it's reciprocal. It doesn't seem like there is a lot of respect from the industry to the fans, and I don't know what that is. Like, I think maybe people that don't want to. Okay, you've heard that saying. It's like there's not a comic book fan. It's only someone who wants your job, right? It's like, and I think that's true to a certain degree. But there are people that are actively pursuing it, and they probably are easier going on them than people that bring them a portfolio or a writing sample or like because like, are you trying to use me? Right. Are you trying to? Do you really like me, or are you just trying to BS me because I'm here?
Yeah, because we all know those opportunists who are only interested in using you to further their own connections.
Do some of them wear suede jackets? No, I don't.
It's crushed velvet, asshole.
Sorry,
but no. So I'll give you an example of something that happened to me at work. I was asked to review a job aid, right? And I'm going to keep this as generic as possible. I was asked to review a job aid, and I really hadn't had a chance to look at it. But I had a meeting coming up to where they wanted to kind of get some critique on it, right, and see what was good and what was bad or whatever. So I was working on that morning, and it was like maybe an 11 or 12 page job aid. So I only get to like page 8, right, before it's time for the meeting. And there was actually 2 documents. I only got through page 8 of one of them. We go into the meeting, and it's over the phone, and I'm going through the thing, and they were like, they set the meeting up for like a half hour, right? And they were like, okay, well, unfortunately, it's like we're at time here for the meeting, but you're like, why don't you go ahead and send us the rest of your, like your recommendations or whatever, and blah 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 blah. In that half-hour time, I'd only gotten to page 3 of the document and had taken up in a half hour telling them all the stuff that was wrong just through page 3 of an 11-page document. And I actually had 5 more pages of stuff that I had read and noted on. And like one thing, you set up a half-hour meeting to go through this. No, I've done this before, and normally this is at least an hour long, if not 2, right? And it's like, well, why is it only half hour? Now, before I talked to my boss, I was like, do they really want, honest feedback? And she's like, give them honest feedback. And I was like, and then after I was like, yeah, you don't set up a half hour. She's like, well, they're used to people just saying, yeah, it's good. I'm like, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I'm like,
really, really bad.
Right. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people, they go up there and they just want you to be like, yeah, you're good. Right. Mm-hmm. And they really don't want that feedback to grow. And of course, they get butthurt about it, and the first thing I want to do is lash out and be like,
yeah,
it's like,
Well, it's interesting because Dave Sim talks about that, and he's like, if people really truly show signs that they want to grow, he will dissect their work like crazy, and he'll pick it apart and say, okay, well, this needs this needs that, this needs that. He'll show them what to do with their lettering. He'll do all kinds of things, but he's like, if I see that they're developing on their own and they're obviously aware of their weaknesses, and if they show me a 20-page book and page 20 looks better than page 1, then all I'm going to say to them is, you're on the right track, keep doing what you're doing.
And he learned on the job, because look at his first issue. Oh, my
man.
gosh!
Cerebus is such a precipitous climb in quality from issue 1 to issue 50. It's incredible. You would never recognize it as the same artist.
To be continued.
Did you hear what happened after the...
Right there, folks, that was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.